How do we avoid guilt by association with cults? The awful allegations against Neil Gaiman ought to stand by themselves. I don't think he was even in the Church of Scientology when they allegedly occurred. Correct. Neil Gaiman grew up as a Scientologist and was a highly trained Scientologist. From what I was told, he was a grad 5 CS, which is way up there. That is a trained Scientologist. That's somebody who knows how to audit, use the e-meter, do all the grades, get somebody basically up to clear, do repairs on them. I mean, that was Neil Gaiman's depth of experience with the technology of Scientology before he left. That's what I understand. And he was involved with it for many, many years. And there's a lot of, content to mine about Neil Gaiman and Scientology. But at the end of the day, I think you're absolutely right. He left Scientology behind years and years and years ago, decades ago. And he doesn't practice it, as I understand it. In fact, I'm 100% sure of that. And my experience or ability to say things like that come from the fact that I was in Twin Cities for years, and his ex-wife, Mary, was the executive director of Twin Cities for a good long time while I was there. And she and I had conversations about Neil, and they were very interesting at the time. And now, I know things, right? And so I know that. I'm not claiming any treasure trove of secret knowledge about Neil Gaiman, but I am telling you what I know. And so there's that. So he's not practicing Scientology now and hasn't for a very long time. But here's where my comment on this is. I haven't watched, I flagged a Rebecca Watson video to watch about this because she brings up Neil Gaiman and Scientology, and I'm not sure where she goes with it. I haven't watched that video yet. And I've seen other people making content or talking about this. The serious conversation to be had about Scientology, Neil Gaiman, and SA is that Neil Gaiman grew up as a second-generation Scientologist. And just like me, and just like Mike Rinder, and just like everybody on SPTV and all the other second gens, that shit sticks and it stays with you, right? The Scientology that you get as a kid growing up in that stuff is not a light grade level of indoctrination. And when you go all the way in and get trained the way Neil did, you are talking about someone who is thoroughly indoctrinated in crazy ideas, right? Ideas that are absolutely destructive. An ethics and justice system that is all about group survival over the individual. The individual is nothing. The group is all. And L. Ron Hubbard convinces you as a group member that the reverse is true and that you are all and the group is really just there to support you. But it's not true. In action, Scientology acts like a destructive cult and an authoritarian group where you are punished for not conforming. It's a compliance culture. So Neil Gaiman grew up in that. To think that that didn't have an effect on him in his adult life, or in his actions or beliefs or ideas would be, ridiculous. Of course it formed who he is. Just like it formed who I am. Right? All of us. I mean, there's no way around that. What I don't know is what Neil Gaiman ever did to get over that. I have no idea whether he got a minute of therapy. I'm kind of thinking he probably did. But I have no idea. And that's where my knowledge of Neil's recovery from Scientology ends, is he left, but I don't know what happened after that. So I'm going to make an assumption right now that there are lingering effects of Scientology in Neil Gaiman's mind. And that Scientology, in a way, could very well have influenced his behavior in regards to all these allegations, right? And they're horrible allegations. I mean, they are like, wow, this guy is really a monster. He does stuff that just doesn't, there's just no concept of boundaries with this man, right? He just violates people's spaces and just goes in, and he is master and they are servant, and this is his thing. And of course, that kind of thinking, is what makes me think, yeah, that's I could see some Scientology there, right? Now, is it required, though? Now, that all being said, is it required that this be Scientology originated, or that Scientology has somehow influenced Neil to be this way? It's not required. He could have fully recovered from Scientology's bad effects on him in a way, and yet still have other things going on that could cause that. Obviously, because there are plenty of people who never had anything to do with Scientology who go full in on SA and horrible, horrible things to people, right? So it doesn't have to be that the motivations or beliefs or ideas that exist in Neil's, and needs and desires and obsessions, those kind of words too, that apply to Neil here, it's hard to say until we got more solid answers from him about that, or more knowledge, or if I could get more about, did he ever recover from Scientology? Did he ever get an ounce of therapy? What kind? What did he do? How did he try to recover from this, right? Like, there's a lot to know about that. And we don't have a clue, because he's never said a goddamn word about it as far as I know. I don't know of one place anywhere where Neil has written about or talked about his Scientology experience in any real substantive way. And that book about the suicide and stuff that's not Neil. That's an incident or event that happened. I don't think that has too much to do with writing about Neil, thinking about Neil, right? And if I'm wrong, let me know in the comments or whatever. I'm keen to hear what y'all think about this. But those are my thoughts on Neil. Now, how do we avoid guilt by association with cults? Well, you just kind of think the thought through, like I just kind of walk through, right? You don't know right now. And so it's a mystery. It's a question mark. There's a lot of question marks right now around this man. And I don't know that we're ever going to get all those questions answered. Hard to say. But you avoid the guilt by association by actually applying critical thinking and applying your gray matter to the knowledge, the data that you have. And sort of parsing through, well, again, what's factual, what's objective reality, subjective reality, right?